Greetings from the Northwoods of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. I'm Natasha, and this is Plant-Centered Living. And today's interview is with Brad Mattson, and this interview is the very first one that I have here in my cabin studio, and it's great that Brad is the first one to break it in for us. So he and I are going to be introducing him to you, and then we'll go from there. So, Brad, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Who are you? Where do you live?
Well, I'm Brad. I live here in town in Marquette there, and lived in Marquette all my life and that.
How old are you, Brad?
37.
37.
Yeah, just went vegan back in July. Just went plant-based back in July. And, you know.
How did that come about? So you just all of a sudden woke up one day and said, I'm going plant-based?
Sort of. I mean, I've pretty much lived off of fast food and burgers and fries and garbage like that for years and years and years and years. Health issues, you know, within the past couple of years became diabetic and other concerns, tumor in the lung, things like that. And then, you know, I was trying to figure out a change. I tried calorie restriction, and, you know, that worked great for a very short time until I gained, you know, that and 50% more back. And, but then finally I watched a documentary, What the Health, and it was
pretty powerful.
Yeah, it was very good. And then I was like, holy crap, here's all my problems and things that they're attributed to is pretty much their list and how I lived, you know. Like, and so I decided I was going to try cutting back on meats and cheeses, and, you know, within a few days of just cutting back, I hadn't even given them up. I was just trying to clear out the freezer, have a little bit of whatever's in there for a few days, and it was very quickly, less than a week, that it started tasting different, didn't taste as good. And then the one night I was sitting there, like every night I like to nibble on some sausage and cheese before I went to bed, and the one night I was trying it, and I'm like, boy, this doesn't taste right. I thought it was spoiled or something went wrong with it, and it was just my taste buds were changing in that short of a time.
That quickly.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought something was wrong. I called somebody up I knew. I'm like, hey, this is okay. And they're like, oh, that's normal. But, and at first I was really bummed because I loved cheese and just sausage. It was like my favorite snack every day I had to have, you know. And I was kind of bummed at first, and I was like, well, actually, this is really great news because now it's easier to give up something I don't like than something I really enjoy, you know.
And I think that's a really good point for people to really hear and have it resonate with them.
Yeah.
That, yeah, if your taste buds are changing and you're not craving it as much, then it makes it a whole lot easier to change the way that you eat.
And so that night I just decided to, heck with it, I'm going to start going plant-based. And so the next day I pretty much didn't eat a whole lot.
Trying to figure out what to eat.
I had a lot of salad and some, you know, co-op food and stuff. I'm like, oh, this says vegan. That's all I knew about it. And it was a few days after I decided to go plant-based that I went to one of the local meetings, Northern Vegans. And that's where I met you for the first time. You know.
Well, and I must say, I distinctly remember you walked into our meeting, and I was already seated. And you being as tall as you are, and you said, is this Northern Vegans? And I remember looking way up, saying, yes, this is Northern Vegans. And it was great because you had done so much research on your own. I mean, you had read books, you had watched YouTube videos, you watched documentaries.
And I think at that point I hadn't even seen too much yet because I didn't know where to start. I mean, all I knew about vegans is they're weird. I don't like them. I'm like, how can you not eat meat and cheese? And, you know, like I said, I mean, I practically lived off of fast food, you know.
But it sounds like you were at a point in your life where it's like, I've got to do something, and it's got to be more direct change than I've done in the past. And so, well, that's one thing that I've really admired about you since I got to know you, was that you do go all in. And then you're watching those YouTube videos, and you're reading everything you can get your hands on, and the documentaries, and you're looking at it from a very practical standpoint of, what can I do to improve my health? And tell me a little bit about what you told me about dieting when you and I first met and started working together.
Yeah, I said I can't stand even calling it diets, because diets always fail. It was don't diet, live it. Start life. Spent enough of my life trying to die, and I'm going to start living.
And that was such an inspiration to me. You know, I've spent all of my time up to this point dying. Now I want to live. And I think that that's really inspirational to other people too, because my goodness, you know, diets are so restrictive. And like you said, they don't work long term. Yeah. You may see some short term results, but that may even lead to more weight gain later on.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried different diets, you know, Weight Watchers and low carb diets and just counting calories, and they seem to work great for a very short period of time, just long enough to tell all your friends how wonderful this diet is and how much weight you're losing and spread the word so everybody else gets in on it. And then after that, nobody hears about how wonderful it is because you're starting to gain all your weight back because restriction is hard.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about plant-based too, is at first I didn't realize how much more I needed to eat. And that was my biggest thing when I first started, was eating enough. Yeah. I was like always hungry, and I'm starting, and I, like one day I was getting a little dizzy. Even can I realize I'm like I haven't had hardly anything for like calorie-wise food. I mean, I had like a salad or something, but I had to eat a lot more when I first went plant-based because just the way it fills you up. Sure. Like, I mean, you see how on all these documentaries and things, like oil just fills up a little bit of your stomach for the same calories that, you need to eat a lot more. Veggies and stuff fill your whole stomach, and so I just wasn't eating enough at first.
Well, in diets, it's always restrict. It's always less, less, less. So in your mind, you're thinking, okay, if I eat more, I'm going to gain more weight, and I'm not going to get healthier. So it's counterintuitive often to us to do that. Oh. But it certainly sounds, can you give me a little idea, when you and I have been talking, I would love to continue interviewing you down the road and the progress that you're making. Yeah. So you mentioned it was, back in July, you think?
July 11th was the last day that I had it. It was
July?
Wee hours of the morning, bedtime for me. Was eating the sausage and cheese, and then it just wasn't tasting good, so I was like, all right, this is my sign.
So that was July 11th, 2017. Yep. And now today's date, we're in 2018.
Yeah.
And
2019.
Yeah, so February 19th. And can you give me a little idea of some of the positive changes that you've seen in your health and maybe your well-being?
At first, as I mentioned, I had a small tumor in my lung there. And which we just found out about last year, but for about 2 or 3 years, I've had issues, hemoptysis and congestion in my lung. I always snotted up when I take a deep breath, and it was within a couple weeks that went away, and I didn't even notice at first till one day I was like trying to take a deep breath. I was coughing. I'm like, they're not coughing anything. It's just dry cough, and then I realized I took a really deep breath, and it was like the first time I realized, holy crap, I hadn't. In 2-3 years, I haven't taken a deep breath without that snotty, congested feeling in my lungs.
Wow.
That was one of the first things. I started sleeping better, and little things that I didn't really notice at first because I was just so used to not sleeping well, or sleep apnea was a really big problem. I was supposed to be on a machine for that, and all these little things, and even going to the bathroom was always a chore, and so that was one of the first things that started becoming easier, because you don't realize how much meat plugs you up.
Well, and I'm really glad that you brought this up, because some people are really afraid to talk about things like that, but that's practical. That's a big deal. So it's like, wow, going to the bathroom is even easier, and if you're processing food more cleanly and more efficiently, and you're going to the bathroom more often, your body is cleansing itself and getting what it needs. Yeah. So that's great to hear.
That was interesting. Speaking of cleansing, it reminded me, it was 2-3 weeks in or so, I thought I was breaking out in a rash. I started getting really itchy, my chest and that, and then, it was kind of moving, but it wasn't a real rash. It didn't break out in hives. Normally, if I was allergic to something, I'd break out with hives or something. But I really itched, and I was couldn't figure it out, and it was because my body was starting to cleanse itself. All the toxins got to come out somehow, and so it lasted a couple days, and it went away. But it was just a weird thing. I was concerned. I was trying to figure out, was it laundry soap or this or that, and nothing had changed other than the way I was eating.
Isn't that? It's amazing our body's ability to heal.
No.
And it's okay, we're getting rid of the yuck. And how are we going to do that? It's coming out through the skin, and it's working its way out. So, Brad, do you mind sharing with us what your weight was when you started?
Yeah, before I went plant-based, my weight was 470, and then I started cutting back in that, and so I was down 464, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But then after going plant-based, even with eating a lot more, I was still losing weight, 2 to 3 pounds a week at first,
Mm-hmm.
and a little less now because I had to have surgery and other things. So
sure,
I was kind of not getting any exercise, but even then,
yeah,
I was still losing, a pound or so a week,
mm-hmm.
and even without getting any exercise and that, just
which is quite a healthy way to do that.
Because it's just, it's like a byproduct of getting healthier. Weight is just kind of losing weight naturally instead of trying to lose weight to get healthy. I'm losing weight as a byproduct of trying to get healthy.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because one of the things that people who have watched my YouTube channel and know me is that I am very much not focused on the weight loss side of
mm-hmm.
things, because so many people just go in with, I'm going to lose weight, and I really feel that people need to look at this from the health perspective, like you said, and then the nice benefit of it is that the weight just comes off naturally.
Yeah.
So I really don't like to focus on weight with people. But I wanted to ask you that question because I like the fact of your approach and the way that it just continues to come off at a normal
And I mean, so far in
rate.
about 6 months, a little 7-8 months now, I lost 30 pounds. And
mm-hmm.
like I said, it's just, I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm trying to get healthy, first off.
Well, and it certainly sounds
so
like
the weight
you are.
is just, like I said, it's more of a byproduct. And
mm-hmm.
it's great. Another thing was my cholesterol was, they were wanting to put me on meds for my cholesterol and blood pressure and all that. My blood pressure was in the 180s I can't remember the other number. And within a couple weeks, it was like 3 or 4 weeks later, having to go to the doctors, my blood pressure had gone down in the 110 range and mostly staying around in the 110s.
Wow, that's huge.
And my cholesterol was like 298,
mm-hmm.
and I told them, I was like, I want to get another blood work done to find out if it's dropping, what's going on, and my cholesterol actually has gone down to 216, so I lost like 82 points of cholesterol just in the past 7 months, 8 months.
And I do want to mention for our viewers that you have gone plant-based, and one of the things that you're kind of working on now is maybe cutting down more on added oils to the food. And as you're going along and you're changing the way that you're eating, you're finding that certain things make even more of a difference in your health and getting better and in your overall wellness. Yeah. So because you didn't go in with the goal of, I'm going to lose as much weight as I possibly can first off, you're working on all of these other health factors as well. Yeah. And I can tell you that when I first met Brad till now, his coloring is much better, definitely, and you just look healthier all around.
Yeah.
I mean, your energy level and the way that you just your energy, the way that you look, and I'm so impressed with all the progress that you've made, and I hope that you'll be willing to come back on and share your progress as we go. Is there anything you'd like to add before we finish for today?
Not that I can think of.
How about a tip for anyone who might be trying this? Anything?
Like first starting, well, I don't know. When I first started off, I was eating a lot of like meat substitutes, cheese substitutes, and things. Mm-hmm. There are some of them that are really, really not good at all. Some of them I really like because when I first quit, I needed to like fill that mental need for sandwiches and things, and so I was making a lot of sandwiches with processed meats, plant-based meats.
Yeah.
And I like the Tofurkey brands and some of the cheese bases and stuff, and. But as I've gone on, that processed stuff, I don't feel as good now as when I first started. But that really helped me in the beginning. Trying a bunch of different ones, and I got to be prepared to be disappointed because there's several times I try these, I just say, no, can't do that. I found a few I liked and stuck to them for quite a while, but eating enough. That was my biggest challenge in the beginning. Was I wasn't eating enough because I don't realize how much more I had to eat to keep my body going because it's so low calorie, so filling, the fruits, veggies, and things like that.
Yeah.
I actually had to change my brain into eating a lot more.
So you basically had to rev up your metabolism, give it lots more before it would start having that fire to be able to digest more food that was actually healthier food that was burning cleaner in your body. So you would recommend to people that, you know, try some of those substitutes if you need to help you make that transition. And then you may find that you're not as reliant on those as you go along. And then also eat more.
Yeah, well, like you say, in the beginning, was one of the big things was not so much physically, but mentally I was craving stuff like that. And then a lot of times, too, in the beginning, and even sometimes now, I'd have like a really strong craving for a burger or some sausage or some cheese or that. And when I really start craving just like junk food and things like that, I realized, it took me a while to realize why it was happening. It was because I was hungry. I hadn't eaten enough for the day.
Right.
You know?
And those old habits and memories and neural pathways in your brain, they die hard, so to speak. So it's like you automatically go right back to where you were before unless you are aware of it. So, well, great. Well, thank you so much, Brad. And everyone, Brad's going to come back and share with us at a later date. So have a great week, and I will talk to you.